Welcome back, everybody. So, today I'd like to start off in a little thought past my mind. Pretty sure that the owner of Kiwi Farms, Null, would have been a gold bug if it wasn't for me constantly espousing the positive properties, the divine properties of silver in his chat, in his throne room, so often. I mean, he was already a mold bug, but I'm glad that he invested in silver instead of gold because silver is more pragmatically realistic. It's useful for filtering water and filtering air. Whereas gold, well, it's useful in electronics, but not as useful as silver when it comes to survival. Speaking of survival, people who work out in the sun, they need water. So it's really shocking to find politicians like DeSantis exercising laws of petty cruelty, such as the stripping of water and break rights out of workers, when it's already been shown in Texas to have negative consequences, when the same laws are passed. So why? Just cruelty, schadenfreude. And from who? A loser. That's who. An absolute loser who barely squeaked by beating a crackhead after getting Donald Trump's endorsement. That's pathetic. And speaking about pathetic, I am so sick of watching Sagar and Jetty on Breaking Points go off on these wild tangents of lies constantly. He thinks that he's tough and big just because he's part of the winning movement and has cryptocurrency. However, he doesn't seem to understand that as a Texas suburbanite, he is just as brainwashed as everybody else in Texas when it comes to this sort of nanny state manipulating the truth and supplanting with lies. Thing that's very easily disproven. It's kind of like Utah. Texas isn't something that can really expand outside of Texas because of the specific law and specific philosophy of Texas. And by that metric, I support Texas independence. I think that they should break off and become their own thing. That would be cool. Because the Alex Jones ancestor demons have already burned up all the good parts of Texas and replaced it with storeholds of hard drugs and rotten tin beans and paranoia and bullets that, of course, is a wonderful combination in any case. So, you could not pay me to live in Texas. I'd rather live in Detroit than Texas. I trust China more than Texas, and I don't trust China as far as I can throw them. Okay? But at least I trust Emperor Xi, who, if you don't know, isn't a communist. He was part of a royal lineage that was interred in Maoist internment camps and was tortured as a young child, but is part of the sort of intellectual percentage of people that is unable to be hypnotized, no matter what sort of efforts are exercised against his favor. So he has managed to break free of that, and despite the fact that there is a veneer, a facade of communism in China, it is mainly wiped out along the coasts and has been pushed back to kind of the Yunnan, breadbasket area where there's just mainly farmers that do not have the ability to exercise a large amount of political control over their nation. So, that's that. The individuals that can drop bombs on apartments and then land with a smile, those people are so dissociated from reality. So dissociated from reality. And it's very, very sad that that can happen because it's very likely that these people have been programmed by CGI, as I've been talking about as a fantasy billboard last episode, CGI for a very long period of time, so that they literally have an artificial definition of reality inside of their heads. Naturally, that creates that sort of schizophrenia where you have your fantasy world and you have the real world and it clashes. That's the schizo, that's the break in the two. So, a lot of Americans are schizophrenic because of our culture, and that's why I accept such horrible things happening. But that can end. That can end if we consecrate ourselves to the truth and drop the cult crap. Drop the I'm a Red Sox fan. Oh, no, I'm a Bulldogs fan. You're an American. And more so, as an American, you're an international, you know, shepherd. And that's just what you are. I'm sorry. So you have to care a little bit more. And if you don't want to be an international shepherd, please support pulling back the naval supremacy all over the world. You know, apparently the only reason why to have a big navy is to project power. But frankly, if we don't want to be responsible with our power, we should just focus on our own home base. And I'll support either path, frankly. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have it dissociated from reality and clashing super hard. That's exactly where people get the most mental illness and the most pain that manifests out through that. So keep that in mind. Britain claiming Babylon was a very, very ambitious move. You know, people have been talking about the Sykes-Picot agreement a lot recently. You know, France took southern Anatolia and the Aleppo region, and Britain exercised control over northern Arabia, but also just straight up took Mesopotamia. And that explains a lot about how Kuwait ended up there, despite the fact that there's very little evidence of a Sunni state in that region. It's always been historically Shiite in that particular area of the world on the other side of the Euphrates. So, did you know that Arthur of the Arthurian legends, the third king of Dyfed, otherwise known as David, in the southwest of Wales, was an Irishman? The genealogy apparently proves that he was an immigrant from the area of Leinster. And this was around the same time where the Irish took over the Isle of Man, and you see a lot of Ogden stones in the area that prove this. And I find that very fascinating because, well, you know, all the attacks against Ireland from Britain might have legitimately be a harrowing of the kingly line to replace it with this inbred kraut line from the Far East. You know, that's very likely what happened there. But, you know, that's the Isles' issue. I'm over here in America. I'm actually quite enjoying being American. Like, it's sad sometimes, but, you know, you can't argue with the level of comfort that you have here. It is quite amazing. So don't ever take that for granted. You know, be kind, be cool, and be collected if you're an American. We're going into a very stressful time. It's been a very stressful year, and next year is very likely going to be very stressful too, based on all the predictions in the solar charts and stuff. Basically what NASA says the sun is going to do again, which is more Carrington events, more sunspots, more coronal mass injections. And this year, 2024, was the first year where in 180 years of recorded history that Mount Fuji had no ice on top of it. A little bit scary, but keep your head up. Keep a stiff upper lip. Keep your chin high. And everything is going to be okay. You know, I wonder, could it be that every glittering rock in the rings of Saturn shines with the luminescent souls of all those slain in the service to sin? Or could such romantic, poetic thoughts just be an excuse for the slaughter of the innocent? Ultimately, that is not as important as have you eaten, have you slept, and how are your loved ones? Keep focused. Don't let the servants of Gomorrah and pilgrims of Sodom intimidate you. You're better than that. Stand tall. Signing off.